The IEC says this past registration weekend registered 1.2 million new voters. Now, registered young people aged between the ages of 20 and 20 now stand at 4.3 million. Joining us is Terry Tselane, who is the chairperson of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Tselane. We heard the IEC yesterday making reference to having hosted a very successful registration weekend, and so far as the numbers and logistical performance are concerned, adding more than 1.2 million people to the voters' roll since November. The numbers are now at 27.4 million. What does this tell us?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It means that we've had a significant increase in terms of the number of people who are registered to be on the voters' roll. However, when you compare this with the fact that there are 42 million people who are eligible to participate in the process, and those have not as yet registered, clearly illustrate that there's still a problem, and we've got to try to work hard in order to try to get as many people as possible to be on the voters' roll.
So one of the other achievements is what the IEC's chair, Simon Mabolo, referred to as important reversal of the historic underrepresentation of young persons. I mean, 77% of young people under the age of 29 entered the voters' roll for the first time. How certain can the IEC be that this sort of enthusiasm of youth registration will translate into votes come election day?
They can be certain that everybody who has registered will be able to vote. If you look in terms of the past experience, you'll find that there are quite a number of people who had registered but who did not participate. I think in the last elections, almost 2 million people who had registered did not participate in the elections. So it is incumbent upon the Commission as well as political parties to inspire and motivate people to participate in the elections and to make sure that those who are registered end up going to the polls on the day of the elections.
So with young people turning up in their numbers, making up the lion's share of new registrations on the IEC's voters' roll, the young people who are coming on the voters' roll for the first time need to be given information about the technicalities and the correct manner in which to mark a ballot. How crucial will voter education drive be, that segment, as we head closer towards elections?
It is absolutely critical. And you may be aware that some of the political leaders also have actually been saying things that are inconsistent with the legal framework, which really shows that not only ordinary voters understand the process or don't understand the process, but also some who are in a leadership position also don't understand how this process is going to unfold. But I think what is making things a little bit more complex is the fact that Parliament on Friday was still busy with the Electoral Matters Amendment Bill, which means that, there are certain aspects that will still be part of the legal framework that will govern the elections that have not as yet been incorporated into the electoral scheme that is going to be used for these elections. But because we're also going to be seeing independents participating for the first time, it is important for the Commission as well as for political parties and civil society organizations to make sure that people understand what it entails to be part of this process, what these new rules entail, and then how these new rules are going to be impacting on the overall electoral process.
Yeah. So with 2 registrations under its belt, the Commission will focus, of course, on ramping up preparation for the elections. The focus, I mean, you make mention of independent candidates, but also political parties who intend to contest this election, parting with thousands of rands to get their names on the ballot. At the same time, political parties and independent candidates will have to pay more money for the regions they wish to contest. How significant is this next step?
It is important. Firstly, from the side of the Electoral Commission, they've got to try to put in some mechanism that will make it difficult for people who are not serious players to find their names on the ballot paper. But at the same time, whatever mechanism that they put in place, they've got to make sure that they do not disadvantage individuals and political parties that want to participate in the process. So the issue of the election deposit as well as the signatures that are required for a party or for a candidate to contest the election, is an important checks and balance on the part of the Commission to make sure that you don't end up with frivolous participants in the ballot paper.
Yeah. Should we be concerned at all at this stage that the election date is yet to be announced?
Of course, it's a worry that the election date is almost around the corner, in a sense that in terms of the Constitution, in particular Section 49 of the Constitution, the President must announce the results of the elections, and those elections have got to be within 90 days after the date of the last elections. So the last elections were on the 8th of May. It means the date of the election is fast approaching, and the sooner the President announces the date of the elections, it will make it much more easier for people then to start preparing for those elections, both in terms of election administration, but also even those who are going to be the contestants in the electoral process. At least they will have now a little bit more focus in terms of their arrangement in relation to the elections.
Yeah. Also, before we let you go, there's been numerous polls that have been conducted as we gear up for the elections. I mean, what's the point of forecasting, or is it just a matter of noise?
Well, forecasting is important in the electoral process because, firstly, it shows the political parties how they are viewed by the electorate. And therefore, they can either use that to try to canvass for more support, or alternatively, depending on how they view or interpret the poll results, they might feel that what they are doing has been correct, and then they continue doing what they've been doing. But it is important in terms of the political parties, in terms of their preparations for the electoral processes.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion.